Would the current global financial statement dominated by the West ever change? This is the question on the minds of everyone as we focus on the long-awaited 2024 BRICS Summit. The three-day summit, which began yesterday, October 22nd, 2024, promises to be world-changing as leaders of more than 24 countries around the world are gathered in Kazan, Russia, where President Putin is hosting the summit. But the question is, what is the agenda of the summit, and how will it affect the current global financial order? Let's find out. The opening session of the three-day BRICS Summit saw the presence of the leaders of all the BRICS member countries, as well as the leaders of several other countries, including Turkey and Vietnam, which have expressed interest in joining the bloc. The 2024 BRICS Summit aims to shape a new world order through expanded membership, a BRICS payment platform, and critical oil price discussions. What this simply means is that the purpose of the summit is to address the central problem that BRICS has been working hard at, which is de-dollarization. As you are all aware, the BRICS bloc started the de-dollarization campaign after the Russian-Ukraine war began, which led to heavy sanctions imposed by the US on Russia. These sanctions include freezing all of Russia's assets and excluding Russia from the SWIFT payment system. All of these were to cripple Russia's economy and isolate Russia. However, the US sanctions on Russia made it obvious to countries in the global south that a similar occurrence could happen to them, given that the world's reserve currency is the dollar. So began the campaign for de-dollarization, with so many countries hopping on the trend and aligning themselves with the BRICS initiative. So the ongoing BRICS Summit is going to deeply address the issue of de-dollarization. But what specifically is on the BRICS Summit agenda? Well, first of all, the issue of expansion of membership. You see, before the 2023 BRICS Summit, the BRICS membership comprised only 5 members, including Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. However, at the end of the summit, its membership had increased to 9, including Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the UAE. But following this, more countries began to express their interest in joining the BRICS bloc. In fact, according to officials from South Africa and Russia, more than 40 countries have expressed interest in joining the bloc. And right now, all these countries are present at the summit, in Russia. So there is no doubt that the expansion of the bloc in terms of membership will be addressed. Although it is not clear, it is likely that we should expect to see new members joining the bloc, such as Turkey, Indonesia, some African countries, and even Saudi Arabia. If you recall vividly, Saudi Arabia, the country behind the petrodollar, which is why the dollar is used in oil transactions globally, was offered membership into the BRICS bloc last year. However, Saudi Arabia refused, preferring to maintain its relationship with the US. Supposing Saudi had joined BRICS, it would have jumped on the de-dollarization campaign, which would have given a huge blow to the dollar. If Saudi Arabia, the biggest oil exporter in the world, decides to abandon the petrodollar agreement and start using local currency for oil trade, there is no doubt that the oil will suffer a huge hit. BRICS knows this, and that is why it offered Saudi Arabia a membership in BRICS. Before we proceed, we would like to remind you to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel so that you can get more videos like this. Now, even if Saudi Arabia ends up not joining BRICS, the bloc already has the UAE, another large oil-producing country in the Middle East. Interestingly, a day before the summit began, UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed met with President Putin to discuss the possibility of pricing oil in alternative currencies aside from the dollar. Now, if the UAE eventually signs a deal with Russia, the dollar's position as the world's reserve currency will certainly suffer a hit, and the US dominance in the global financial system will also be affected. The reason for this is that, since the 1970s, the demand for the dollar has been stable due to the petrodollar agreement signed between the US and Saudi Arabia. This agreement dictated that oil would be priced in the dollar. So, any oil transaction around the world is conducted with the dollar, meaning that there is always a demand for the dollar. However, since the de-dollarization campaign began, things have become shaky as anti-West sentiments have spread, and BRICS urging countries around the world to trade in their local currencies. The UAE, for instance, has deepened ties with China and is even considering pricing oil in the Chinese currency yen and other alternative currencies. If this eventually happens, the dollar will be negatively affected, leading to high borrowing costs for the US, which will in turn lead to an increase in inflation and a significant decline in the standard of living. But aside from the discussion on oil pricing, another agenda on this year's BRICS Summit is BRICS Pay. For those of you not aware, BRICS Pay is the new payment system created by BRICS as an alternative to the West payment system, SWIFT. Although it's still under development, the first footage of the BRICS payment system was released last week. This system is a decentralized, independent payment messaging system that bypasses the use of the dollar for trade. According to the BRICS Pay official website, BRICS Pay is a potential cornerstone for payments for sovereign and prosperous nations. Chinese experts reveal that this initiative will provide BRICS countries with expanded payment options for settling goods and services, further solidifying their economic relationships. In addition, this approach will help to reduce excessive reliance on the US dollar, balance the dollar's dominance, foster financial diversification, and bolster economic autonomy among BRICS members and beyond. Russian officials have also noted that the new cross-border payment infrastructure will be based on advanced technologies and will enable faster and cheaper foreign trade transactions that are without external interference. There is no doubt that during the summit, attention and discussions will be centered around this new payment system. And following the summit, more announcements will be made regarding BRICS Pay. Now, another agenda on this year's BRICS Summit is what many are calling the Bretton Woods III Agreement. This simply means that BRICS is planning on moving away from inside money to outside money. But what does this mean? Inside money simply refers to fiat currencies such as the dollar, yen, and pound. Outside money, on the other hand, is money that is outside the control of the typical financial framework. We are talking about commodities such as oil or gold. You see, BRICS members have come to the realization that gold is true money because it has intrinsic value and a finite amount. This means that gold will always be a safe store of value compared to fiat currencies such as the dollar, which can be devalued as part of a country's monetary policies or even used as a weapon. It is no wonder then that last year, BRICS members were among the highest gold purchasers in the world. You see, if a country holds large quantities of gold and launches a currency backed by gold, the fact is that the country would not be at the mercy of the US financial policies. So BRICS members do not want to be in the same position that Russia found itself after the US imposed sanctions on Russia. China, for instance, has been decreasing its US holdings and significantly increasing its gold reserves. Last week, Russia's finance minister stated that it is necessary to form new conditions or even new institutions similar to the Bretton Woods institutions, but within the framework of our community, within the framework of BRICS. Currently, the plan is to create centers for mutual commodity trade, meaning that those with large quantities of gold or oil would be in a position of power. This is why BRICS countries and even those that have expressed interest in joining the bloc have been buying gold in large quantities. However, aside from the new payment system and a potential currency backed by gold, this year's summit will also focus on the demand to create an alternative to the IMF. Reports have shown that this Western-led institution, IMF, has favored Western countries more than countries in the global South. In fact, reports indicate that the policies recommended by the IMF as a condition for loans have been the root cause of the economic problems faced by developing countries, especially in Africa. This is why, in recent times, there have been calls for reform in the IMF and World Bank, which seem to prioritize wealthy Western countries at the expense of those in the global South. 2 weeks ago, the president of Russia, Putin, also added his voice to the growing demand for a change in the IMF. But Putin didn't just call for a change. He called on BRICS members to create an alternative to the IMF to counter political pressure from Western nations. According to the Russian finance minister Anton Siluanov, the global financial system is controlled by Western countries, and that the group, which represents 37% of the global economy, needs to create an alternative. The IMF and the World Bank are not performing their roles. They are not working in the interests of BRICS countries, he said. It is necessary to form new conditions or even new institutions, similar to the Bretton Woods institutions, but within the framework of our community, within the framework of BRICS, Siluanov added. So as you can see, the 2024 BRICS Summit is packed with many discussions and decisions to be made regarding the way forward for the bloc and its vision. While we wait for more details as the summit unfolds, one thing is sure: things are about to change in the global financial order. The question is, how fast will it be? What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video.